I'm going to show you how to make a health bar, a stamina bar, and if you want to, you can make like a mana bar too. But I'm not going to be showing that because it's basically the same thing as the stamina bar. But anyway, first thing you're going to want to do, go into Started UI in Explorer, which you can find in View. Click on this. Go to Started UI, right click it, Insert Object. Go and find the Screen GUI. Name it whatever you want. I'm going to name mine HP Stamina. Then right click that, Insert Object, Frame. Then just kind of scale it how you want it. One thing you're going to want to do, I'm not really a GUI design pro, but you're going to want to go to side and stuff and make sure instead of having like you see like on the squiggly brackets, there's like two sets of squiggly brackets in size. I want to make sure instead of having the right value in, you want to have the left value in, because it makes it like no matter what screen resolution the other person has or what size of a screen the other person has, it still looks the same. So I can go like 0.6 or something, maybe not 0.6. Okay, let's go 0.4. Yeah, like that. Okay, and over here, and basically it's a scale of 0 to 1 of like the entire screen, basically. And over here, I'm going to do 0.1. That's too big. Okay. I mean, you have to use like a bunch of decimals and stuff, but at the very least, it makes it like if you go here and test with different screen resolutions, it always looks the same. Anyway, then you can name this like HP. Inside that, you're going to want to insert another frame. You can do all the designing on your own. I'm just kind of making a simple GUI here. And the size, you're probably going to want to put the position at 0, 0, like that, because it'll probably make it easier to do all the scaling and stuff. And make sure anchor point is also at 0, 0. Then the size is going to be, one second. Anyway, so I'll make the size, go ahead and turn it into like probably 1010, just to make it the same size as its parent, right here. I said it makes it the same size. I said it makes it it scales it to the screen, but really it just scales it to whatever like its parent, like whatever the parent is. So like the parent of HP is HP Stamina. So like HP Stamina is just the entire screen. So like that scales to the entire screen. But in this scenario, it only scales to like this little thing. Anyway, so this thing is going to be the green part of the HP bar. And just go like this. Okay, so it's going to be green. Then you want to insert a text label. Well, you don't have to do this part. It's just if you want like it to show like the actual value of the health, but this isn't necessarily necessary. Anyway, size probably 1010, like that. Okay. You don't want a background transparency 1. Sorry. Text scale. Okay, now you can just change the text for now, something like that. And basically, there's another little thing. You can either put this text label in the frame or in the entire bar. It doesn't necessarily like matter which one you do. It just if you put it in the frame, then when you scale the frame, it also scales that with it. And if you put it here, you scale the frame, that thing just stays in place. So you can do whichever one you want. I'm probably going to leave it in the HP bar, but I'll explain what the difference is scripting wise if you do the other option. Anyway, now we've made that. Let's go ahead and just copy this using Control C and Control V. Rename it Stamina. And we can just go ahead and, oh, that's kind of annoying. We can just move it down a little bit. Which one is it? This one? Nope, not that one. Okay. There we go. Okay. Then we can go ahead and scale it down a little bit for aesthetic purposes. Then in here, change the frame. Let's make it a yellow color. And this one's going to be, it's going to look pretty much exactly the same as this one, unless you want to like design it differently. And once again, if you want to add mana, you can just copy it again, change it to whatever color you want, move it down, stuff like that. Anyway, the next thing we're going to do, before we go into scripting these bars and stuff, we're going to go in here, server script stores, server script service, insert object, and insert a script. You can name it whatever you want. I'm going to name it stats. And first thing we're going to do, aim.where's the player added connect function here put player. Okay, so what this does is it detects whenever a player joins the game, and whenever a player joins the game, it makes a variable player for that player. So now if I do this, I can go ahead and take local char or character is equal to player dot character. So it just takes a character of the player. Equal hum equal to char humanoid. Okay, and this one takes the humanoid of the character, which is basically where all the important scripting details are in the character. So like the health, the jump power, the speed and stuff. So, and the reason I put, instead of just like putting a dot, like I do up here, the reason I put wait for child, like this, is because a lot of the time, the script will start running before, like, the character is actually fully loaded in, and the humanoid won't be loaded in by the time this line runs. So I want to put wait for child, because that makes instead of just automatically printing an error when it doesn't detect, the humanoid, it just, like, waits until it does detect the humanoid, and then it keeps going. Anyway, next thing we're going to want to do, how about like that? No, wait. So we're going to create some values for the health. There technically already are values, like if I go into test the game. If you look over in here, players, not players, switch up my username. Go here to my character in the workspace. Go to humanoid right here. Technically, there already is health and max health, but the only problem with using that for these numbers up here, the only problem with using that is sometimes it shows like decimals, like really long decimals, and by doing this, we eliminate all those decimals and make it a lot simpler. Anyway, I'm going to create a folder. Oh, nope. Folder. And put that in the player. So this, it creates a new instance, which is a folder. It creates a new folder, and this part right here puts it into the player. So like it's, if you go here, players, and you go to the player, it's inside of the player. Now we're going to name the folder health stuff. Then local health, we can type it, instance int value, and put this one in the folder. Health.name health. So this one, it creates a value for the health. It creates an int value, which if you don't know what an integer is from math or whatever, it's basically any number that doesn't have decimals. So it could be negative, it could be positive, just any number without decimals. And that's how we eliminated decimals in the text right here. So then we want to create max health. Local max health. Value, put it in the same folder, type it, .name to max health. Oh, that's why it's not working. Okay, so now it made a max health value. Now we're moving on to stamina. Equal S folder equal new. We're gonna do the same thing we did up here, but with stamina instead. Folder player folder.name equal to nope. Also, I recommend you don't put spaces in the names because it makes it easier when you're scripting it later on to just not put spaces. And instead of putting spaces, you can like use like capitals to indicate the different words, or if you wanted, you could use an underscore, but that might be weird to type. But I mean, just doing it like this for me personally makes it easier to script later. Anyway, local stem equal to instance.new value this folder stem dot is equal to and for this one we're going to want to give values to the different statistics. So stem dot value is equal to 100, or if you want to have like a base value like from the base value for stamina or whatever, just put that in, and then up here max stem new value this folder max stem dot new. Oh, gotta put the parentheses, not the parentheses, the quotation marks. Persona stem dot value 100. I'm actually just going to do this. So if I want to change it, then I can just change one number instead of two. And over here, just to keep it looking nice, I might just put that in there. Keep it looking the same. Okay, now we have all those values. Now, you notice we set the value for 1 second. Okay, as I was saying, we got the max stamina and the stamina, and we put the values in for the stamina and the max stamina, right? But we didn't do that for the health, right? So we're gonna do that right now. Put down here though, because we want the health to we want these stats to update and change every time the health changes. So to do that, what we're gonna do, making a little section here. These little things aren't necessary. They're called comments, but they're not necessary in a script. I just like to do put them there just to kind of keep everything organized. So if I'm looking back on it later, I can edit it easier. Anyway, so what we're gonna do, changed connect function. So with this, every time something about the humanoid is changed, it's going to run whatever is in here. Just like with here, this is also an event. Like this is an event, and whenever a player joins the game, it runs all this. Anyway, this one just does it whenever something about the humanoid is changed. For example, the health. So what we're going to do here is put max health is equal to max health. Max health dot value is equal to max health dot value equal to dot health. There we go. Now this will automatically update these to be the actual humanoid health values. Okay, now that we've gotten those values in, now we can start scripting these things. We're going to start with the HP bar, since that's probably going to be the easiest to do. Anyway, we're going to insert a script, a local script to be specific. I'm not going to name it. Put a little section up here of player stuff. Okay, so we're getting the player. This is this line right here. It the whole local player thing right here. This can only be done in a local script, and local scripts only run if they're in the player, if they're in the player's GUI, or if they're in the character They don't like run in server script service, so they only work if they're in the player. Anyway, and that's why this works. And this just gets them. 1 second. Okay, so this just gets the player. I don't remember what I was saying last, but yeah. Anyway, now we're gonna get the character. Same thing as before, except without the typo. And then we're gonna get the humanoid. Right? Gotta do wait for child, then do humanoid, as we did here. In case this line loads before the humanoid does. Now, you're gonna want to get the stats. Local health stuff. Go to player.health stuff, which is the folder we made right here with all the health values in it. Local health is equal to health stuff dot health. Except it's not HEALF, it's health. Health. Local max health is equal to health stuff dot max health. Okay, so now we got all these values right here. So now we can use them in the local script. Anyway, so now we're gonna create these other variables that I'm going to call health zones. Local yellow zone is equal to max health value times 0.25. So basically, actually let me just make these first, then I'll explain what they mean. Local orange zone is equal to max health value times 0.20. Local red zone is equal to health value times 0.15. Okay, so what these do, these basically take a percentage of the user's max health. So for yellow zone is 25%, orange zone is 20%, and red zone is 15%. And what I'm going to do with these is whenever the health is below like this percent of their max health, then like this health bar here is going to change color based on that. I'm sure you've seen that in a lot of different games and stuff, and yeah, it just adds like a stylistic effect to it. And over here, this isn't necessarily necessary, but anyway, I like to do this, keep it neater and cleaner and nicer looking. So local green to color green dot from RGB. This basically gets green as a color, but like in a variable. And the reason I do from RGB instead of like .new, like a lot of people might do, is because I've noticed from RGB, like what? So .new, I've noticed like sometimes it tends to like take the value and multiply it by 255, like this right here. And it doesn't exactly work when you're trying to get like a dark color. Like if I wanted like dark green, I would want to do like 100, and it'll give me dark green. And it doesn't really work because it multiplies it by 255, and then it's just like bright green. So I do from RGB because that doesn't do that like at all. Then I'm gonna get yellow. And this one is going to be 255, 0. Orange equal to color 3 from RGB. This one 255, 150, then 0. So it's more orange than yellow is. Local red is equal to color 3. Oh, okay. From RGB 500. So now I just got all the different colors. And if you don't understand what these numbers right here mean, these numbers are basically telling the computer which colors to do. And how you know like what it means is right here it says RGB, and that's the kind of coloring system that Lua uses, which is the scripting language for Roblox. Anyway, so RGB means red, green, blue. So basically, on a scale of 0 to 255, you put how much red, green, and blue you want in the color. And you just get you can mix them around, make different colors. And max red and max green get you yellow. Max red and not quite max green, you get you an orangish color. And so on and so forth. Anyway, so we got all the colors. Now, wait. You're going to want to do this. If you remember back here, we did humanoid.change. We're going to do that again, but here instead. .change. Wait, I forgot something. Before we do that, let's do this. We want to get these GUI things. And earlier I said I'd explain the difference between putting a text label in here and putting a text label in here. Basically, the difference is right here when you're getting the variables. So for me, this is a script, right? So if I wanted to get this as a variable, I'd do script.parent. Local HP, whatever that works, is equal to script.parent. Parent, right there. So that, and it goes script.parent, and it gets that as a variable. So now from that, I can say local frame is equal to HP.frame. So now it takes that and takes that. So local text label is equal to HP.frame. And the difference between putting this in the frame and putting this in here is that if you put this in the frame instead of what I did, then instead of doing local text label is equal to HP.frame, you do local text label. This would be text label. But instead of doing this, you put frame right here. Because it's inside of the frame instead of inside of the HP. So for me, I have it instead of HP thing, so I'm going to put it right there though. Anyway, that's all the GUI. Now here, next function. Okay. Now, let's just, let's do this. Okay. Never mind. Let's not do that. Okay. Now what we're going to do, we're going to have it check if it's going to be in any of these specific zones. Well, these specific zones right here. So we're going to do if health is less than or equal to red zone, then except we're going to actually want to do health.value because we're using int values instead of doing humanoid.health. And so health.value, if the health is less than red zone, which is 15% of their max health, then frame.background color 3 is equal to color 3. No, we're not going to put that because we have this is equal to red because we made this right here. Anyway, so this just changes the color of this green frame right here to red. And one important thing I'm going to go through all these little zone things right here. One important thing though is you want the lowest numbers to be first. Otherwise it won't work as well because it goes through the lowest numbers first when it does it. Well, it goes to whichever one you have first. It checks those first. And if let me just show you. Let me just finish this and I'll show you. Else if the value is less than or equal to orange zone, then let's say value do yellow zone, then let's put these in here. Yellow. Okay. Frame background color 3 equal to green. Okay. So now, as I was saying earlier, you want to do the lowest colors first, because if you do if you did yellow, orange, then red, and then you add green at the end, then you would do this. It would go if health is less than or equal to yellow. And if it is, then, okay, it makes it yellow. But if it's less than or equal to red, it ignores that, because it says, oh yeah, red is less than or equal to yellow, so, I mean, it makes it like the health, it says, oh, health is less than or equal to yellow, so it just moves on and makes it yellow and moves on, and it ignores the whole red part. So we want to put the red part first, the orange part next, and the yellow part after, so like, you can actually get all three of the colors. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. Right here. Okay, now we're gonna make, so this green bar, what the heck, wait, oh, yeah, we're gonna make so that green bar moves, and so this number changes. So, okay, so text is equal to value divided, value dot 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 dot. I'm going to change this text to make it easier. Okay, so what this does is it changes the text of this to the health value, then it adds a slash, then it changes it to the max health value. And the reason I put these two dots here is to separate the numbers and stuff from the strings or the quotation mark stuff. Anyway, so that changes the text. And this is actually, right here, is actually why I originally made the values, the health values, instead of just using the humanoid health values. It's because if I did, let me just see if this works, and I'll show you an example. We would do hum.health, hum.max health, instead of using my variables. I'm going to have to test that out. Go to workspace, the character, humanoid. Okay. Oh, health stuff is not a valid member of player. Oh, that's right. Right here, where I got these variables, you don't want to do what you did with the humanoid, where you put the wait for child. So let me do that real quick. Wait for child, health stuff. Okay, so now that should work, unless there was another mistake I made. I make mistakes all the time, but it's alright. I still know what I'm doing, for the most part. Okay, now it shows this as an error. Player.character, wait, no. Okay, I see what's happening here. So, let's change this. What's happening here is exactly what I said is happening for, like, with the humanoid, where I said if you didn't put this, the wait for child thing, then it would like the line would run before the humanoid actually loaded up, and that's basically what's happening with the character. Like the line is running before the character is fully loading up, because it only it starts when the player joins, not when the character loads. And sadly with this, you can't just do a wait for child, because the character isn't necessarily a child of the player. It's a property of the player instead of a child of the player. So instead, what you could do, what I'm going to do, workspace player.name. This can be inefficient in some ways. I'm sure there are better ways to do this, but for this tutorial, I'm just going to show it this way. And basically what this does, it takes the workspace, which is basically this right here. So all the characters appear and all the map and stuff. Anyway, it takes that, then it goes into the workspace, and it searches for anything with the same name as the player, which most of the time would be the character, which is why I'm doing this. And what I can do right here, instead of doing this, I'm going to do wait for child. And in this instance, I actually can do wait for child, because the character is actually a child of the workspace. And that should fix that. If it'll load. I'll come back to you when this loads. Okay, it is loaded up now. And one thing I'm going to mention, when I first loaded in, this was red. Like instead of being green, this was red, so I was confused for a second. Then I realized it's because I used humanoid.changed, right? So basically, whenever anything about the humanoid is changed, then it updates. And it just wasn't updating because the humanoid was, like the character was staying still and the humanoid wasn't changing. So I moved around and it worked just fine. Now it's green again. Anyway, so let me show you what I meant when I said like it shows decimals and stuff. 50. Wait. Is it gonna heal? That's what I need to do. It's not healing. Oh, that's right. Because I need to go from client to server. Okay. Now if I go over here, humanoid, change the health to like 20 or something. And as it's healing, you'll see like it shows like really weird decimals and it gets ugly. I don't like it like that. So instead of doing all that, what I like to do is use the end values because that removes all the decimals. Okay, now if we load it up again, you'll see what I mean when I say it removes all the decimals. So we load in current, then we go over here, 19 humanoid, lowered health, and you'll see now it just shows like the actual numbers. And I might change something real quick. 1 second. I'm going to go in here and change this 25 to 0.4 and change this to 25 because I think I got my numbers a little bit off, because that means like once you're like down to 20 health, wait, no, never mind, whatever, let's just test it. But it should be showing it yellow and stuff when you're relatively low in health. So let's test it now. One second, let me figure this out. Okay guys, I realized the problem. Simple mistake. Simple mistake. Okay. So the really the only reason is because I put these outside of this. So if I move these in here, it should work just fine. But basically the reason it doesn't work when it's out there is because when it gets the variables, it gets a max health value times 0.4, but only like it doesn't like update, you know. So like when I first ran these, it was probably like before all the max health stuff loaded, so I'll probably just put nil or 0 for all these. But if I put this in here, then these variables update every single time the humanoid is changed, and that way it actually works because it's like updating the variable, and the variable is actually like right. And it's not just some random number that used to be true, but isn't anymore. Change the health, and you'll see now it changes the color, but we haven't made the bar move yet. So let's do that now. Now, frame.size is equal to, right? To make this nicer, size. Gotta remember how to do this. Okay. Health. One times 0. Okay, I'm gonna go over this once I finish it and get it figured out. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . port 1. Now we're going to test this, just in case I put it in wrong. Might have done it wrong. I haven't done this stuff in a while. That's kind of why I'm making all these random mistakes. Right here, humanoid 20. Okay, something's going on. Okay, I think I know what it did. It's because I didn't do this. I didn't put value. That's why I gotta remember to put dot value whenever it's something other than like humanoid.health or something. Whenever it's like an actual value. Actually, let me just show you what I mean by an actual value. If I load up the game, you'll see in player 19, and you see health stuff and stamina stuff. And you'll see like these are the actual values. And you see it says in value. Whenever it's one of those, you want to put dot value if you're trying to mess with like the value of it. Anyway, let's test this again. Humanoid. There we go. Now you can see it moves along. And also, because I put tween position instead of just changing the size, it also like makes it smoother and look nicer. So, like if you wanted to be like kind of and grudgy, I don't know why you would want that, but instead of putting this, you could just put frame.size equal to IM2 dot. You can copy this. You just put that, and I'll show you what that does. But this, I mean, using the twin position makes it kind of nicer. I'll explain all what the twin position and stuff means and everything I just did in a second. But let me just show you this. Maybe. 1 second. Okay. Now 19 humanoid health 20. Now you see it's like, I don't know how to explain it, kind of rigid and just, it's not very smooth, you know? Kind of just instantly moves. No like transition. So that's why I personally very much prefer this. Right, so what this does right here, frame, it tweens the size. So what that means is that it slowly adjusts the size. Like, it goes like on a transition and transitions the size instead of just automatically adjusting it. And this UDIM2.new, what that means, it's basically, it's like the color3.fromRGB or if you do color3.new or something, or instance.new over here. It's like that, but instead this is like a value that like it determines the position of a GUI or the size of a GUI. And right here for the first one, like basically if you look like right here, go to like the frame, you look size right here, it's basically, this right here is the UDIM2 value, and it basically creates another one of these and changes this. Anyway, the reason I put this for the first one, this right here is what makes it change based on like the user's actual health. This is how like you actually like change it. And basically, here's one important thing. If you have like this, like the size is like 0.8 or something, I have it like if you have like designed a little bit differently and it's something like that instead, then right here you're gonna want to do this, but you're gonna want to put parentheses around it, do times that value. But whereas I have it as 1, I don't need to do that because anything times 1 is just the same thing. So I can just remove that and ignore that. But basically, this just it takes the health and divides it by the max health. And the reason this works is because of if the user has max health, like their health is all the way healed, then like it's just max health divided with max health, and you just get 1, and that's the size that it usually is. But then if it's lower, you get a certain like percentage that the health actually is, and that's how that works. Then these values, this is this value right here, this is this, and this is this. So you just want to put the same thing that it already is. Anyway, so that's the health bar. Now, moving on to these stamina bar. Yeah, let's do that. Let's insert object local script. Player stuff. Cool. Let me just type all this out real quick and then I'll explain it. Okay, so I got started on this, got started scripting this. Then I realized one thing. In order to test the stamina, we're gonna need something to actually use it. So I'm going to make a shift to sprint system. To do that, go into server script service, insert a script, name it whatever you want. Then insert into that script a local script. You can also name whatever you want. Anyway, and here in the server script, you're gonna want to go game.players.player added connect function player. Then do local sprint script equal to script dot sprinting clone sprint script dot parent equal player. Okay, so what this says, whenever a new player joins the game, it gives the player as a variable, and then it makes a new variable called sprint script, which is a clone of this script.sprinting, and it takes a clone of that. Then it puts that clone into the player, and that's all you really need to put here. And that just makes actually, yeah, okay, let's do it like that. Then for later reference, I'm gonna go to right click replicate. Wait, actually no. Now that I think about it, this is all unnecessary. I'm just gonna put this in here, starter character scripts. You can just delete that. Okay, so you want a local script in starter character scripts, and go to sprinting, player stuff. Okay, got all the variables, same as usual. Now, you're going to want to get a new variable that I haven't mentioned before, known as user input service. And to get that, equal to game get service user input service. Okay, so now we have that. And basically, this just tracks all the input of the player. So like if the player presses shift or K or I or whatever they press, and it tracks all that stuff, and you can use that data. Anyway, so now we're gonna go here and we're gonna type uis.input began. So that right there, it's an event that whenever the input is began, like whenever somebody presses a key, then it starts doing things, you know? That made no sense, but you know, whatever, let's just go with it. Connect function, and right here you want to put key, and you can call this whatever you want, but I'm gonna call it game stuff because I don't actually know the proper term for it. Anyway, so the first parameter, the first variable that comes from this event is the key that the user presses. Then there's the thing I named game stuff, which is basically whether the user is in like chat or like in some other GUI or some. So like if you want to prevent like the user from doing something while they're typing something in chat, so they're not like typing something in chat, then they accidentally do something you weren't trying to by pressing the key. And basically, in order to use this to prevent that, you want to do if game stuff then return end. And basically what this is, it's just a simplified version of this. Basically makes so, if this is true, which is like if the player is in chat, or if they're typing in chat, if they're doing something else like that, then like if that is true, it basically means that, except you don't need this. And also, so if that is true, then it goes here and returns. So basically it just cancels all this and it just doesn't do anything. And the reason I do it like this is because it just makes it simpler and just makes it easier. Anyway, we're also going to want to make another variable here called db or dbounce in order to prevent some other bugs and stuff. Okay, so key.keycode left shift, or you can do control or whatever key you want to do for sprinting. Then, okay, and now false. True. I might actually just be able to remove that. Anyway, so what this does is I'm going to use this variable to track whether or not they're currently pressing the key, because I want to make sure like they hold it to sprint instead of like clicking it to toggle it on and off. If you wanted them to toggle it on and off, then, well, let me show you what you do for this, and then I'll explain that later. Pressing is equal to true. Then assume.walk speed is equal to, we want the, alright, so here's what we're going to do here. So local walk speed is equal to 16. That's the default character walking speed usually. Local run speed is equal to 35. That's what we're going to use for the sprinting speed. And this right here, you can just like basically put whatever values you want, and if you just put these in here instead of just like using this, and first of all, it makes it you don't have to like remember this or whatever, but it also makes it so like if you want to change it later on, you easily can. So you can do run speed instead of putting 35. So now you can just change this, and it just changes the run speed. Okay, so that makes so the humanoid moves faster. Okay, now. Wait, I don't need this, do I? I haven't done this in way too long. Okay, now what we're going to want to do, we got UIS input ended next function key name stuff. And what this does, it's basically the exact opposite of this. Instead of when the player starts to press the key, it's when the player let's go of the key. So, game stuff return end key code num code left shift. Okay, so now it checks that the key is left shift. You could put right shift or left control or whatever you want to put, except it has to be the same as this one, of course. Otherwise, it doesn't really work very well. Then walk speed, no, capitalize it, equal to walk speed. So now that sets the walking speed back to the regular speed. So now I'm going to test this, see how well this works. And so far, we'll be using stamina, but maybe I'll turn off a shift lock. That might make this easier. So now whenever I hold shift, it makes me move faster. And now I'm going to script the rest of this to make sure it takes stamina. Then I'm going to script the rest of this, and then I'll come back and explain it all to you. 1 second. Okay, I may have made a slight mistake. Remember when I had that little script in here? I'm going to have to put that back in here again. I had a feeling I needed it in there, but I couldn't remember why. But I'm going to put that back in there. And now we're going to retype this. Okay. Player. Okay. Now we're going to type everything I showed you before that I eventually deleted. Okay. Local. Sprinting. Get a clone up. So this thing can actually supply for all the players. And then sprint. Parent equal to player. Character. There we go. So now it puts it in the player's character. So the player can use the script and sprint. Then I'm going to show you the reason I needed this. So what I did in here before realizing I needed this again is I was adding the stats in so I can make so this takes stamina. Then I realized with filtering enabled, which is a thing in Roblox, you go here, filtering enabled. By default it's on, and I'm pretty sure Roblox requires it to be on these days. So yeah, I'm going to show you how to do it with filtering enabled on. And basically with filtering enabled, I can't just use a local script to change the stamina value, because it'll only change it for that player instead of for like the entire server. So like the player will see that they have a certain amount of stamina, but all the server scripts and the other players won't see that. They'll see whatever it is that they actually have. And the reason this is like actually a thing is just to prevent like hacking and stuff. Anyway, so with filtering enabled, there's a way for local scripts and server scripts to communicate with each other in order to overcome this little issue thing. Anyway, to do that, insert something into replicated storage known as a remote event. I'm going to call mine sprinting. Sprinting, apparently. Okay, sprinting. Now, in both of your scripts, you're going to want to add a little thing. Gain the replicated storage. The brain farm. Okay. Local sprinting, rep storage. Sprinting. Okay. So now I got those. That's pretty neat. So now I need to copy this and I need to put this in here as well, because I want both of the scripts to be able to access that. Anyway, so now I'm going to name this. Okay, so in here, sprinting fire server. Did I typo? Sprinting. I'm confused. Why does it say that it's an error? So confused. I don't know. Oh, okay. It's because of this. Duh. Okay. Apparently I'm tired. Sprinting fire server. 1. Actually, it'll be 5. Basically, what I'm going to do here. So this, every 1 second. Wait one. And actually, let's just do while Okay, turns out I'm going to need that one variable again, known as, well, it was a different thing before, but yeah, false. And I'm going to rename this because you're going to have two different variables with the same name, or else it creates errors. Run to event, I'm going to name it that. Okay, well, sprinting, do, and make sure you want to put wait 1. Basically, so what this is going to do, while the user is sprinting, it's going to repeatedly fire the sprint event, which is going to trigger this once I script it up. It's going to trigger that, and it's going to remove 5 stamina every second that you're sprinting. And down here, this is going to turn sprinting off. So that means it will stop sprinting and it will cancel this. And this will stop taking stamina. And over here, you're going to want to do sprinting the event connect function mount. So this is the part that actually takes this and actually does something with it. So the amount, actually wait, first you want to put player. Basically the player, since it's firing a local script to a server script, the server script doesn't automatically know which player it is. Well, actually it does, but you need to put that in here. That is the first parameter. It's the player that is that the script is firing from. That the script is being fired from. Then that after that is everything you put in here. So you can put like whatever you want. Like you can put an infinite amount of things in there. But I'm just going to put the number 5 as the amount of stamina that I'm going to take. So, well, basically, so we already have the player, so now we just need to get the character. Right? Actually, no, that's wrong. We don't need to get the character. We need to get the stats. Local stuff is equal to player, wait for a child, stamina stuff. Okay. So stamina world is equal to stam stuff, wait for a child, stamina. Okay. Now, the max stamina isn't going to be necessary for this part. So, stamina value is equal to stamina value minus amount. So that just subtracts the amount from the stamina. Now, if we go back here, there's one more thing you're going to want to do. So this will take the stamina, but it'll take the stamina like beyond 0. So like you'll be running with negative 50 stamina and it'll still be taking stamina, but you can still keep running. Anyway, to prevent that, what we want to do is go like this. Actually, oh, never mind. Alright, and stam value greater than or equal to 5. Although I might go change this to stam take, so I can change it however I want later on. Okay, so this right here, make sure the stamina is greater than the amount it's going to take every second. I'm sprinting, and then so that makes if your stamina is like already too low to keep running, then you just can't keep running. And over here, what you want to do while sprinting, and stamina value is greater than or equal to stam take. And basically, the reason I want to put this here too is because like sure you won't, like with this, you won't be able to sprint when you have 0 stamina or something. But without putting this here, then if you sprint when you have like 5 stamina, you'll be able to keep going on like to negative 50 stamina or whatever. And this just makes so whenever you run out of stamina and you don't have enough stamina, and it just stops. Okay. Now, stand take. If stamina value less than stand take, then sprinting to false and healing the walk speed. And this right here, after this stops, it will keep going through the script, and then this will check if the stamina is less than the amount it will take, and it probably is if it just went past this, and anyway, if so, it will make sprinting false, so it will stop, like turn that off. Then it will also lower the walking speed. Okay. Now, I believe that should work. Now I'm going to script the bar and I'll explain it. Okay, one small issue I noticed is in the script that gives the player the sprinting script right here, in the script, make sure you put workspace, wait for child player name again, kind of like we did in, what script was it? I think it was this script. Maybe, yeah, right here. Like we did here. Otherwise, it won't actually give you the script, and I noticed that was an issue as I was figuring it out. Anyway, one second, I'm gonna finish this up. Okay, guys, and here is the final product. I'll explain all the scripts and stuff in just a moment, but I'm just gonna show you this. So if you notice, I can run, it takes the stamina as I'm running. I stop running, it stops taking the stamina. It will keep running to the point where like it could possibly go below 0. It just stops me from running. And I can't start running without at least 15 stamina, because I changed the stamina take over here. I changed it to 15. The reason I did that, actually I'll just go through this one thing at a time, then I'll explain that. Okay, so with this this script that shows that like moves this around, what you want to do, it's kind of similar to the health. Oh, and yeah, another thing, I did change both of these up a little bit. What I did is I made a function, a local function, and I took everything that was in this, the humanoid.changed connect. I took everything that was in that and put that in the function. So now I can like call on the function like this, and have this, like all of this, be ran whenever I call this. And the reason I did that is so I could call it once, and then I could like have it like automatically update. But the reason I want to call it once is so when I start, like these don't like wait until something changes, because otherwise if I don't like have it automatically do it once, then it waits until like the health changes, or like until the character changes, or over here it waits until the stamina changes. Anyway, I just did that for both of these. Anyway, over here you'll notice what I did. I just basically took this part, kind of took it out and put it in right here. That's basically all I did. And you just get all the stats and stuff up here, all the variables and stuff, and it's pretty much the same thing as this. But what makes the stamina more complex than the health part is all the other things you have to add. Like you have to make so things take stamina, and they actually take stamina away, like this right here. And I showed you how I made that take the stamina away. Anyway, so then over here, you want to insert another script into server script service, which I called stam heal, because you want something to regenerate the stamina too. I mean, you don't have to do this. You can do like if you want, you can do like stamina potions, or you can like have some sort of thing that the player does to recharge their stamina. But I just put like a thing that makes so they just heal like regularly. So to do this, first of all, you're gonna want a couple of variables: the heal percent and the heal weight. And basically what these are, heal percent will be like what percent of the max health is healed every time, this often, this many seconds. And well, I want to do 2.5%, but you can't really do like 2.5 and then just do percent. It doesn't really work like that. So you have to do 0.025 instead. And then over here, whenever the player joins and gets the sets, then what this does right here, while he'll wait, he'll wait do, it makes so, like, this basically just repeats this over and over again, waiting this long in seconds every single time, like after, or something like that. So basically it does this, it waits, it does it again, it just repeats that over and over again. Anyway, so what this is, if stamina value, this looks kind of a little confusing. You're gonna have to get into a little bit of math for this. But basically, if stamina value, so if the stamina is less than or equal to the maximum stamina minus the maximum stamina times the health percent. So basically it's saying if the stamina like is less than like 1 heal away from max stamina. If it's less than or equal to 1 heal away from max stamina. And each heal is this percent of the max stamina. So that's basically what that's all saying. And then it adds the 1 heal, if it is. And otherwise, if it's greater than 1 heal, and it's like say 1 heal is like 5 stamina, but that person is like 3 stamina from being like fully from having full stamina. That like they're like 3 away from it. Instead of like doing this and having them go over 100 stamina, you do this and you just set the stamina to the max stamina. That's what I did. That's what I did there. And I think that's pretty much it. Is there anything else I need to explain? I don't think so. If so, then just tell me in the comments down below. Wait, let me just check a couple more times. I feel like there's something else I need to explain. Oh yeah, right. So the whole tween size thing, I never really went much into detail with that. So this is obviously the coordinates and the size stuff for the GUI, but I never really explained this part. So basically, this is the direction of the animation, and this is like the style. I chose quart because it's just kind of like a simple plain style, and then this is how long it takes in seconds. So I put 0.9. Before I had 1 for both of these, but I changed it to 0.9 because like when I'm sprinting, it like takes stamina every 1 second, and sometimes like the 2 scripts get a little bit off, and it makes it like just doing this makes it easier and just makes it smoother. Just doing a little bit less than the time like how often it takes the stamina away. It just makes it nicer. Anyway, if you don't understand what I mean by the direction and the style, I'm gonna I'll post a GIF thing in the description, a link to a GIF that kind of like shows you an example of all the different styles and the directions and what exactly they are, because it's kind of hard to explain, but yeah, the GIF will explain that. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. I made some good health bar and stamina bar. Basically, if you wanted to make a mana bar, you'd basically do the same thing like that you did with the stamina bar, but just like call it mana instead. Anyway, that's about it. See ya.